All right, so strap yourselves in for another deep dive. Today we're going to be taking a look at the upcoming sci-fi flick, Mickey 17. Yeah, it's directed by none other than Bong Joon-ho, the guy who brought us Parasite and Snowpiercer. I mean, those were amazing. So, expectations are kind of high, right? This time, though, he's taking on an adaptation of Edward Ashton's novel, Mickey 7.
Now, I'm sure many of you out there, you want to be in the loop, understand what all the buzz is about, but, who has the time to read the book, right? And we're still a bit away from the movie's premiere.
You're telling me that's why we're here, though.
Yeah.
We've done the heavy lifting, going through a bunch of articles, News Deep Shika, Film Colossus, even Goodreads and Taki's magazine, just to get a really good sense of what this film is about and what we can expect.
Exactly. Our goal today is to break down those big ideas that are swirling around Mickey 17. We're talking about identity and cloning, how Bong might be making a statement about class and exploitation, which, wouldn't be surprising given his past work. And of course, we'll touch on Bong's signature style and why this story might be right up his alley.
Okay, let's get into it. So right off the bat, Mickey 17 throws us into this crazy dystopian future. Think like a super harsh, icy planet called Niflheim. Imagine everything covered in ice, the temperature's way below freezing, and an atmosphere you can barely breathe. It's the kind of place where, without some serious technology, humans wouldn't last 5 minutes.
And here we meet Mickey Barnes, the main character. But hold on, he's not your average Joe just trying to get by in this frozen wasteland. He's actually a clone, and not just any clone, he's the seventh version, hence the name.
Yeah, and they call these clones expendables, right? Because they basically use them for all this super dangerous, risky jobs that, well, nobody in the right mind would volunteer for. Talk about a rough gig.
These guys, these expendables, they're literally sent on missions where death is almost guaranteed. But here's the really mind-bending part. It's like, when they die, they don't really die. Their consciousness, their memories, experiences, everything that makes them gets uploaded into a brand new clone body.
So in a way, they're kind of sort of immortal. I mean, they keep coming back, but it makes you wonder, right? What does it even mean to be alive if you can just be reprinted like a bad photo? And what does it do to someone to know they're basically disposable?
Absolutely. That's a huge ethical dilemma right there. And that's where the main conflict of the story kicks in. You see, Mickey 7, the version we meet at the start, he's presumed dead after one of these insane
So
missions.
naturally, the colony's like, oh, time to make Mickey 8. But surprise, surprise, Mickey 7, he's tougher than they thought, and he survives.
Exactly. Now we've got two Mickeys walking around, which obviously throws everything into chaos. It's a total existential crisis for Mickey, like, who am I if there are multiple me's? And there's a big problem for the colony, who clearly aren't equipped to deal with this kind of situation. So Mickey's got to go into hiding, pretending he's just a regular colonist.
This whole concept of identity, it just hits you in the face right away, doesn't it? Like, imagine if you were a copy, just one in a series of, Mickeys or whatever. And then on top of that, they stick a number on you.
And it's super interesting how Film Colossus pointed out this detail about the title card. Apparently, it starts out as Mickey 17, emphasizing that he's just another iteration in this long line of clones.
But then it reportedly shifts to Mickey Barnes by the end of the movie.
Right. So you've got this evolution happening, this move from a number to a name. And the implication is, well, he's no longer just an expendable clone. He's reclaiming his individuality, his humanity, his right to be recognized as a unique person, not just a number in a system.
This theme of dehumanization, it's like a punch to the gut, especially when you see how Mickey's treated. Like there's that early scene, right?
Yeah.
Where he's in this crevasse, freezing to death, and his so-called buddy Timo shows up.
And Timo's not even worried about Mickey. He just wants the flamethrower Mickey dropped. He even throws out this callous line about how they can just reprint Mickey anyway. It just shows how these expendables, they're not really seen as people, are they? They're just tools.
And it's not just Timo. We get this sense from the articles that the whole colony, even the leadership, even the scientists who are constantly killing and reviving Mickey, they all have this detached attitude towards him. Because he's an expendable, they don't have to think about his pain or his fear.
They basically stripped him of his personhood, reducing him to an object.
Thankfully, though, there are moments of hope. The character of Naisha, she stands out as someone who actually sees Mickey for who he is, a person.
Yeah, her empathy really shines through. There's this powerful moment described in the articles where Mickey's left to die from nerve gas, and it's Naisha who's actually grieving for him. She even goes and gets a protective suit so she can be with him in his final moments.
Imagine that, in this cold, sterile environment. She's the one offering him a little bit of human warmth and connection as he dies.
Hmm.
It's a powerful reminder that even in the darkest of places, compassion can still exist.
It makes you realize that loyalty and empathy are choices, even when the system around you encourages indifference. Speaking of indifference, it's interesting how that theme of loyalty is further emphasized in the movie, particularly when compared to the native creatures of Niflheim, the creepers, as they call them.
Right, right. The articles mention that the creepers show this intense sense of unity when their young ones go missing, right? They band together and fight to protect their own.
It's a sharp contrast to the colony, where a human life, especially an expendable's life, is considered so cheap. Bong seems to be subtly highlighting the irony of humans lacking the basic decency and connection that these alien creatures possess.
Okay, now let's jump into another big theme that I think we're going to see a lot of in this movie, class and exploitation. I mean, think about it. These expendables, these clones, they're created to do the dirty work, the stuff nobody else wants to do. It's like a whole system built on disposable workers.
It totally fits into Bong's usual themes, right? Like this idea that society is structured in a way that benefits those at the top while those at the bottom get chewed up and spit out. And the articles mention how this whole mission to Niflheim, it wasn't just about colonization, it was about money.
Oh, right, right. They were basically testing out human printing as a cheap way to exploit labor.
Exactly. Commander Marshall, the big guy in charge, he even calls it an abomination. But then in the same breath, he says it can be exploited for common economic benefit. It's like, hey, as long as the elites are making money, who cares about the ethics, right?
Yeah, and they highlight these stark contrasts between how the different classes live. Like, we see Commander Marshall and Ifla, they're living it up in luxury, all fancy decor and lavish meals.
Meanwhile, the rest of the colony is on these strict rations, barely scraping by. Bong's a master at showing these disparities, how those in power, they're completely out of touch with the struggles of everyone else.
Film Colossus brought up some really good examples to illustrate this. Like how Amazon warehouse workers, they're generating billions in sales, and what do they get? A bag of cheap candy as a thank you.
It's almost insulting, isn't it? And then there's that horrifying story about the Amazon worker who died on the job. It's like, imagine having to keep working right next to a dead body. It's utterly dehumanizing.
Right. They make these connections to real-world stuff, and it just makes you think, how far are we really from Mickey 17? Are we already treating people as expendable in our own way?
I think that's one of the points the film is pushing us to consider. It seems to be saying that we need to look out for each other, be compassionate, because otherwise, self-interest and greed, they'll just keep perpetuating these systems of exploitation.
It's scary but true, and this is why Bong Joon-ho is the perfect director for a story like this. He doesn't just give you a sci-fi spectacle, he makes you think.
He's so good at weaving social commentary into these really captivating narratives. Like, think about Parasite, how it explored class struggle in such a brilliant, unexpected way. And then Snowpiercer, with that whole train as a microcosm of societal inequality.
Yeah, and this story with the cloning, the identity crisis, the ethical questions about using and discarding people, it just feels like another opportunity for him to, push those buttons, make us squirm a little bit in our seats.
He's not afraid to ask those tough questions, to confront us with those uncomfortable truths about ourselves and our society.
And then you've got Robert Pattinson playing Mickey Barnes, which is such a great casting choice. He's become this actor who really embodies those characters that are struggling, battling with their inner demons, grappling with tough choices.
He really seems to seek out those roles that explore the darker aspects of the human experience. Like in Good Time, The Lighthouse, even his portrayal of Batman. There's always this intensity, this sense of internal conflict.
And those qualities are perfect for Mickey Barnes. This guy's a clone. He's fighting for survival. He's questioning everything about who he is. Pattinson can totally bring that depth and complexity to the role.
The articles even mention how he's been getting praise for his American working class accent in the film.
Oh, really? That's all.
Yeah, some are comparing it to Steve Buscemi in Fargo, and this is kind of funny. Even Stimpy from Ren and Stimpy.
Whoa. Okay, that's a weird mix.
It is, but apparently it works. It adds this extra layer to his portrayal, like this mid-20th century American loser vibe, which I'm really curious to see how it plays out.
Now, I do want to point out that not everyone's on board with this whole Mickey 17 thing. We got to be fair and share different perspectives, right?
Of course. And Talkies Magazine, they didn't hold back. They basically called the premise dumb and said they're not so sure Bong Joon-ho really gets America and American satire.
Oh, they went there?
Yeah, they specifically pointed out the character that seems to be based on some, powerful American political figure. They didn't name names, but you can read between the lines. And they didn't seem to think Bong could do it justice. They also had a few things to say about Toni Collette's character and this thing about sauces.
Sauces. What, like ketchup and mustard?
I know, right? It sounds a bit bizarre, but it seems to be a recurring element. Talkies Magazine wasn't convinced that this whole sauce thing would resonate with audiences.
Okay, so not everyone's sold on it. It's a good reminder that even when you've got a big-name director like Bong Joon-ho, you're not guaranteed universal praise.
True. And to counter that a little bit, Film Colossus gave us a glimpse into the ending of the movie, which sounds pretty thought-provoking. They say that human printing actually gets declared illegal in the end, and they even hold a ceremony to destroy the printer.
That's a big statement, isn't it? Like they're saying, hey, this whole thing with creating disposable copies of people, it's wrong.
It's definitely sending a message about the value of human life, of individual lives, and it suggests that the society in the film is moving towards recognizing the inherent dignity of each person, rejecting that whole idea of just using and discarding people like they're machines.
So maybe there's hope for humanity after all, at least in the Mickey 17 universe.
Maybe, maybe. They also talked about the dynamic between Mickey 17 and Mickey 18, hinting that they represent different responses to this whole exploitation thing. One might be more resigned to his fate, while the other is maybe more rebellious.
And the last scene in the film where Mickey 17 has this dream and tells these shadowy figures who represent like the whole power structure to fuck off, that's a powerful image of defiance.
Yeah. Like, finally, he's refusing to be a pawn in their game.
Okay, and let's not forget about the native creatures on Niflheim. They kind of get glossed over in some of the articles, but Newsdeep Shika pointed out that they're actually a big part of the story's world.
Yeah. You've got these strange beings living on this icy planet, and then humans come barging in. It definitely raises those questions about colonialism and exploitation. Like, are we just going to repeat the same mistakes we've made on Earth, but on a whole new planet?
It adds another layer to that whole theme of who gets to decide what's valuable and who gets exploited.
It does, and it's another example of how Bong likes to take these big, complex issues and weave them into his stories.
So if we're going to sum all this up, it sounds like Mickey 17 is going to be one heck of a ride. We've got cloning and identity crises, social commentary about class and exploitation, and all of it wrapped up in Bong Joon-ho's signature style. I'm definitely intrigued.
It really seems like he's challenging us to think about what it means to be human in a world where technology is blurring those lines. Like, if we can create copies of ourselves, does that diminish the value of individual lives?
That's a heavy question, right? And it's something for us to ponder, especially as we see AI and all these other crazy technologies advancing in our own world. Yeah. It's not just a sci-fi story anymore.
Exactly. These themes, they're becoming more relevant than ever. Mickey 17 is giving us a chance to explore them in a safe space, through the lens of fiction.
And maybe, just maybe, it'll help us make better choices as we face these challenges in our own lives. So to all our listeners out there, as you're waiting for Mickey 17 to hit the theaters, think about this. How might these same advancements in technology, especially with AI, change how we understand ourselves and the value we place on human life? It's a question worth wrestling with.
It is. And maybe, by having these conversations now, we can be a bit more prepared for whatever the future holds.
Well said. All right, everyone, until next time, stay curious and keep diving deep.